Welcome back. One final point before we go tonight. Thousands of people across the country marched against Sharia law this weekend, protesting the brutal totalitarianism of Islamic religious law that subjugates women and calls for the execution of gays. Now, counter-protesters, they claimed this was Islamophobic. The leader of the Women's March even claimed Sharia law is reasonable. In Iran, if you blaspheme the Prophet Muhammad, you can be put to death. The executioners, they cite Islamic law. In the Sudan, if you're convicted of apostasy, you face the death penalty. The executioners, they cite Sharia law. In Saudi Arabia, women aren't allowed to drive, and if you do, you're thrown in jail. The enforcers, they cite Sharia law. Right here in the United States, women and young girls are the targets of honor killings. Their fathers, their murderers, they cite Sharia law. Little girls are the victims of female genital mutilation. The perpetrators, they cite Islamic law. Yet the co-organizer of the so-called Women's March, Linda Sarsour, remember her name? Yeah, she defended Sharia law. She called Sharia law reasonable. Now she claims this. She says, there is not one example of Muslims trying to impose Sharia law on anyone. No legislations, anti-Muslim rallies playing on the gullible. Sharia law is never forced on anybody. Tell that to the 500,000 young women and girls here in the United States who are subject to having their genitals cut off and their vaginas sewn up because Islamic teachings say it's a moral necessity. Tell that to the women in the Middle East who are beaten by their husbands because the Quran says that's okay as long as the rod is no thicker than a thumb. Tell that to the 9-year-old girls who are married against their will to older, perverted men because Sharia law gives child marriage a thumbs up. Tell that to the gay men who are shoved off the roofs of buildings because they're gay by Sharia law enforcers. Tell that to the Muslim women whose testimony in court that she's been raped must be corroborated by 4 other men if she wants the Sharia law court to believe her. Tell that to the grown Muslim women who aren't allowed to leave their homes, or go shopping, or drive a car, or talk to other men, or travel abroad without permission from their husband, their father, or their brother because that's what Sharia law dictates. Tell that to the young Muslim women here in our own country who were murdered by their fathers to avenge the family honor because Sharia teaches better dead than abandon Islam. Ms. Sarsour and all the rest of you counter-protesters defending Sharia law, tell me again how nobody is trying to impose Sharia law on anyone. And then tell me how on earth anybody in their right mind can stand on the street corner and pretend human rights are women's rights and women's rights are human rights while ignoring the atrocity perpetuated on women by Islamic supremacists under Sharia law. What you're doing, you're not standing up to Islamophobia. You're not standing up for religious or liberty or expression. You're certainly not standing up for women. You're standing with the oppressors, with the abusers, with the murderers, the wife beaters, with the gay killers, the child sex traffickers, the mutilators, the Sharia law police who seek to impose their rule on everybody in the world, or else, if we refuse to submit, they seek to kill us. Because that's just Sharia law. And that's my final point. You can reach me on Twitter at Liz_Wheeler. If you liked the show, please send me an email at oann.com/contact. In the meantime, catch us here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern. And until then, have a good night.